Vâng, chúng tôi xin được trân trọng kính mời các quý vị, các anh chị, chúng ta sẽ quay trở lại khán phòng và ổn định chỗ ngồi để phần 2 của diễn đàn ngày hôm nay chúng ta sẽ chính thức bắt đầu trong ít phút. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we'd like to invite you all to make the way to your seats and make yourself comfortable. The second part of this morning agenda is about to begin. Vâng, vì thời gian nghỉ vừa rồi thì tương đối là ngắn, thế nên là nếu mà quý vị mong muốn chúng ta dùng thêm một chút đồ ăn hoặc đồ uống thì trong cái quá trình mà diễn ra các cái phiên thảo luận và các cái phần trình bày thì quý vị có thể tiếp tục rời khỏi khán phòng để có thể dùng trà và cà phê cũng như là bánh ạ. So welcome back to the second half of this morning agenda. And we are having on the stage right now Ms. Kyoko Shibata. She is a senior nutrition specialist at the World Bank's Health, Nutrition, and Population Global Practice with over 20 years of experience in health policy research, multi-sectorial nutrition governance, as well as management of large-scale nutrition programs and micronutrient deficiency control initiatives. Along later with Dr. Natia M. Ladze, IFC Global Food Fortification Advisory Project Lead. They're going to share with you about World Bank and IFC position on nutrition, global nutrition and food security challenge. So I would like to hand the stage over to the ladies.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much for the introduction, and thank you for the opportunity for us to be presenting on the World Bank's position on nutrition, including the food fortification as a game-changing solution. So today, my colleague Natia and I are jointly presenting what we call Food and Nutrition Security Global Challenge Program, which is under development. Will be completed in the coming month and will be approved by the board. Then we can actually openly, officially discuss what it is about. But today's presentation is a sneak preview of what we are trying to put into this Global Challenge Program. Okay, so the Global Challenge Program, first of all, sorry, I'm still on the first slide, sorry. So the Global Challenge Program is something that is coming in a big way from the World Bank Group institutional, as an institutional commitment to some of the most important global development challenges. And there are 6 GCPs, including climate and water, forest and climate, energy, health emergency, digitalization, and food and nutrition security. So food and nutrition security is one of those 6 GCPs that we really try to put focus on in coming years. So it is about renewing our attention and focus on those and work with countries and stakeholders to move the needle on these really important issues through the scalable and game-changing solutions that are there, but not yet properly pushed forward. That includes fortification. Fortification, as everybody this morning touched on, is one of the most cost-effective interventions that can actually really improve the nutritional status of our population. And if you remember in 2008, there's a group of global economists who came together as a something called Copenhagen Consensus Group that actually ranked different development priorities based on what it is that we have to invest and get high returns. And fortification was actually ranked number 3 in this huge list of what, the development agendas, because of its high investment return and because of the needs for the people. So with that spirit, I would really like to, like urge everybody to think about nutrition and food fortification as an investment. We have talked a lot about the technical issues, how to do it, why it's important, etc., which are all relevant, the topics for the further discussion. And really, we need to work together on each of all these elements. But what is also needed is to elevate this agenda to a higher level, to a social norm and government's norm, private sector's norm, that this has to be done. Otherwise, we are losing a lot. So the next one, please. So let me just take one step back to look at why nutrition is so important. This is, I have to begin with this really strikingly impactful, the powerful visual images on the left-hand side. The one above is the brain of a child who is chronically malnourished. The one on the bottom is a brain of a child who is healthy, not chronically malnourished. This is very striking and very clear that nutrition is not just about physical growth and health issues, but it is actually a cognitive and brain and cognitive development. If we don't act on nutrition issues, we are losing the future of our generation. And this affects actually not only in the childhood, but also throughout their life. For example, when they enter school, those chronically malnourished children would not do as well as the other students who are not chronically malnourished. When they become adults, their earning capacity is lower than the ones who didn't experience this malnutrition in the childhood. And therefore, those children who are well-nourished would have higher likelihood of getting out of poverty. And collectively, if we invest in nutrition in early ages, and if their physical and brain cognitive development are maximized, you are actually boosting your economy. Next one, please. Okay. And then I wanted to put this into the context of private sector. Where is the incentive for the private sector to work on nutrition? There's a study done that looked at how much the private sector workforce is losing because of chronic malnutrition. The study was done in Ethiopia, Nepal, and Pakistan, and it found that the total annual income lost for private sector workforce because of malnutrition and because of malnutrition related reduced productivity loss is, for example, in Pakistan, it could be up to 11 or $10.6 billion every year. This is a huge, huge loss to the economy and the private sector, business profits. And the preceding this study was the famous United Kingdom's Chatham House report in 2020, which looked at the cost of malnutrition for businesses across 19 low and middle income countries. And they found that businesses are collectively losing $130 to $850 billion every year through malnutrition-related productivity reduction, which represents 0.4% to 2.9% of the combined GDP. They also looked at anemia separately, and they found that anemia alone is reducing economic output by the private sectors by an additional 0.8% of the GDP on average. And anemia is just one of those conditions that is affected by mainly iron deficiency. There are so many other micronutrients that actually, they produce this kind of economic burden. So we think that this estimate actually is grossly underestimated. Next one, please. And I would also like to turn your attention to the other side of the spectrum of malnutrition, the overweight obesity. This is another striking image that, the prevalence of overweight obesity is skyrocketing in low and middle income countries. We published a report in 2020 looking at the obesity situations and economic implications, health implications of the low and middle income countries for the first time for the World Bank. And this is another study that is more recent that was looking at the economic cost of overweight obesity. And it is very clear that the economic burden of overweight obesity is exploding. It's going to continue to explode in low and middle income countries. The size of the bubbles are actually telling us very vividly. And for example, in China, the cost of overweight obesity was in 2019, $260 billion. And it will become $10 trillion by 2060, which represents 3% of their GDP. Brazil, in 2019, it was 37 billion. In 2060, it will be $218 billion, which represents 4.7% of their GDP. I want to also pay a little bit of attention to Vietnam. In 2019, it was $4 billion, smaller compared to some other really, the overweight obesity affected countries. However, it's still $4 billion. By 2060, the estimate indicates that it could reach $103 billion, which represents 2.8% of Vietnamese GDP. So if you really work hard to maintain or continue to achieve this 5 to 6 point, the annual GDP growth, if you don't tackle overweight obesity issues, you're losing half of the annual growth of GDP. Next one, please. Why is this so important? Because from the prolonged, current poly crisis that started from the onset of the COVID-19 pandemic, and also there were food and economic, the crisis in the past. From those, experiences, we are learning that, when the food price hikes or economic shocks hit the people, the low-income households quickly shift towards, the unhealthy or cheaper staples and unhealthy, the processed foods. They start compromising the quality of the food much before they start cutting down their quantity of food consumption. So even before you realize that people are becoming food insecure, they are already compromising their diet quality. Therefore, the micronutrient deficiencies, increased risk of underweight and undernutrition, and overweight obesity and diet-related NCDs are already happening even before you realize it. So it is very important that in the crisis context, we really look at the quality of the diet and support the people, especially in low-income segments, to protect their, the healthiness of the diet. And what is adding to this is the climate shocks. The climate shocks, not only affects the food security of the low-income households, but it also reduces the nutrient contents of the agriculture produce. Therefore, it also exacerbates the risks of micronutrient deficiencies and other nutrition issues. And when people shift towards processed foods, especially ultra-processed foods, they have greater carbon footprints than natural and fresh foods. Therefore, it circles back to increasing the climate impact for the people and the planet. So what we really want to continue to advocate for is we look at these issues in the food systems spectrum and try to see what we mean by adequate nutrition, healthy diet, and what the the food systems can actually do. So let me just put this, sorry, can you go back to the president? Yeah, to food fortification context. We are trying to increase the micronutrient intakes by food fortification. But if at the same time, if we are increasing the risks of overweight, obesity, and diet-related NCDs, that will have long-term, very heavy consequences on people, communities, health systems, and society, we have to rethink how we can actually do the fortification properly so that we can maximize the net benefit of these interventions. Next one, please. So considering all these challenges, the World Bank Group, IFC, are coming up with something called Food and Nutrition Security Global GCP. We are trying to put together game-changing solutions, scalable solutions for healthier people, healthier economies, and a healthier planet. We have 3 action areas proposed. One is the food and nutrition security crisis prevention, preparedness, and response. Second area is innovative cross-sectoral nutrition solutions. The third area is the low emissions and climate resilient food systems. Because these interrelate to each other, and we have to work across these areas, we are working towards kind of the integrated converged solutions across the institutions. So, and then the important emphasis given to this FNSGCP is how we could actually repurpose public and private resources going into these areas to minimize economic, health, and climate externalities and maximize long-term net benefits of the people, economies, and the planet. Repurposing actually means that there's more than $800 billion going into agri-food public support, including subsidies for different crops. But they are, they're normally designed to maximize profitability and productivity. How can we come into that policy space to reorient that investment into something healthier for healthier food choices that is more sustainable for the society? So this is the kind of main theme of the GCP. Next one, please. Under this innovative cross-sectoral nutrition solutions area, we have mainly 2 big buckets. And one is service delivery solutions, and the other is system solutions. And let me start with the system solutions. The system solutions try to boost the cross-sectoral policies and programs to address the double and triple burden of malnutrition, which is overweight, obesity, diet-related NCDs, micronutrient deficiencies, undernutrition, etc. And it also considers interactions with climate and healthy diet. And what is really important to this solution set is public and private initiatives to reshape the food systems investment. So one and the top solution we propose is the scaling of food fortification through a combination of private sector investment, the policy development, as we talked about a lot this morning, including monitoring, regulatory frameworks, etc., plus trade financing. We have MEGA in the World Bank Group institution, the MEGA as part of the World Bank Group, which can actually facilitate tax exemption, the trade rebate, tariff rebate, etc., to really support the market structure to be more favorable to food fortification. And we also put this in the context of bigger food systems repurposing, because there's a lot happening in the agriculture sector. And the food systems is the one that would shape people's consumption behaviors and market structures. And we also pay attention to enhancing smallholder families' access to nutrition, because they are the ones most vulnerable. They are the ones who need to access the health and nutrition services and healthier food choices. On the service delivery side, we would really like to see the scale up of, for example, multiple micronutrient supplements for pregnant women, because they have much higher requirements. The food fortification can cover the whole population with, to help the consumption, increase the consumption of the micronutrient intakes. But there are certain population groups that actually need additional interventions like this. Small quantity lipid-based nutrient supplements for vulnerable children, which has strong evidence that it can actually reduce anemia, reduce wasting and mortality, and even improve the cognitive development of those children. And the products are already fortified. Nutrition-sensitive social assistance programs. I think one of the speakers touched on this morning, that if the social assistance programs are providing in-kind transfer, then the food must be healthy and have adequate nutrients, including the fortified products. And it should also be, if the transfer is in cash, then it should also be linked with social and behavioral change communication, so that the families can have increased purchasing power to actually improve their purchase of the healthier food choices. Next one, please. So in a nutshell, I would really like to urge again everyone to look at food fortification as an investment to lay the foundation for human capital and economic growth. The considerations are, as I said, fortification as an investment for your own children, for your own families, your employees, and your economy. The second, the obesity epidemic is real. And there's increased evidence on negative impacts of ultra-processed foods. We really need to think carefully about what food products to fortify, so that we don't put people in the risk of the increased risk of overweight, obesity, and NCDs, which are not visible immediately, but will come in 10 years, 20 years time. Finally, food systems should be part of the solutions to climate challenges. Food system is one of the biggest, the system area that is actually negatively impacting the climate. There is a lot of financing going into climate challenges, and there's a lot of policy work going on. We need to be part of that solution. We cannot miss the boat. We have to think about how we can actually work with the climate team and agri-food sector stakeholders to put nutrition and healthy diet on the agenda, including fortification. Let me stop here and hand it over to Natia.
Thank you, Kyoko. Hello, everyone. Firstly, let me thank you everyone to come and being part of this event. I'm represent International Finance Corporation, IFC, which is a part of the World Bank Group, as you heard. I'm leading global food safety, food loss prevention, and food fortification advisory project in IFC. So Kyoko already started explaining about this global challenge programs. IFC in relation with this program, which is like in the discussion now and hopefully will be approved soon, proactively started thinking about discussing about the fortification, engage the different like donor organization, and the fortification project has just like 1 month ago approved. the event, what we are hosting today, it is like under this Fortification Advisory Program, IFC's program, which is supported by Japan government and Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, thanks to our donors. So after talking and discussing internally in IFC about these challenges related to nutrition, we understand that IFC also and discuss and understand that there might need to be the reassess of the actions, activities, what I've seen doing in nutrition, and specifically started to think to touch this like the big issue and promote promote positive health, well-being, nutritious food through different investment projects and advisory programs. So you might for sure know that IFC as a International Finance Corporation is one of the largest development institution focusing on private sector in developing markets. So IFC brings and provides investment as well as providing advisory services and throughout the agriculture value chain. So for this topic, which is nutrition, and we understand that this is a big challenge and big problem now worldwide, IFC decided to promote like healthy nutrition with different type of programs. So here in slide, it's provided some of directions, which IFC is mainstreaming, and it's nutrition sensitive investments on different direction through, for example, enhancing food nutrition through fortification, or increasing commercial supply of nutritious food in deficient markets by investing in different sectors, including fruit and vegetable, dairy, animal protein, egg, pulses, also like projects linked to commodity training on biofortified grains. So IFC is also investing in expanding access for the vulnerable groups to specialized nutritious foods by investing in food companies, which is manufacturing specialized nutrition food. So this is a like ready to use therapeutic food, lipid-based nutrition supplements. So some of the product, which is cereal-based fortified foods as well. In addition, I've been thinking to improve the access to better diets. Here was mentioned the issues with the smallholder farmers and better diets by expanding production of affordable foods with high nutrition value for the local markets, as well as supporting reformulation of high fat, high sugar, high salt products. And we as IFC decided to rethinking on financing some projects that WHO guidelines promotes to be consumed in limited access. So these all directions, which our investment colleagues are trying to rethink and trying to redirect, will help, we hope, to nutritious and positive health. In addition to the investment directions, we in IFC are having 4 global advisory agribusiness platforms. One, as I already mentioned, it is a platform which is hosting today's event. It's like food fortification, food safety, food loss prevention. But in addition of this platform, IFC has 3 other advisory global platforms, sustainable crop production, sustainable protein, and smallholder supply chain platform. So this all platforms has its own objectives, which is provided here as well. But what we have this in cross-cutting and topic and similar topic, what we all platforms are working, that's the nutrition and gender aspects. So nutrition is the cross-cutting for all 4 programs. Let me come back and talk specifically on the fortification advisory program. So for sure, I could not share lessons now because as I mentioned, this project has just approved February 9th. It's not even the 1 month, and we started hosting this event, understanding, discussing about the importance of this topic. And it's not it's first, but it for sure will continue. This is a 4-year project, which will be focused on supporting with advising private sector on implementation, best fortification practices, also on especially if we're talking on milling businesses on milling efficiency, which is also a very important part. Kyoko just mentioned the linkage with the food security, with the climate change. So we understand that without also looking to the efficiency and effectiveness of the milling industries, we couldn't only talk on nutrition with them fortification, and for sure food safety is cross-cutting for everything. So if it's not safe, it's not food. That's how we as a food safety also team talking, and of course that will be also taking into consideration. But as this event is specifically for food fortification, we are not that much highlighting here now the food safety topic. So the project is structured so that specifically in developing markets, mostly low-income countries and fragile and conflict-affected regions, we will have some specific, let's say, support to the clients, which will be providing the grant to start fortification, incentivizing the clients. But in the markets like Vietnam, in middle income countries, or countries still which is in the level where the micronutrition deficiency, malnutrition is still issue, we will have the possibilities to still to continue advising, providing the advisory services. It will be through the promoting the best practices on fortification, starting with the diagnostic, also supporting on the capacity building, building the internal team, providing coaching, training to the client, private sector representatives. Also identifying the right system, most suitable, nutritious, as per the nutrition status of the country. It depends on the country where the client will be based. In addition, we will be thinking, facilitating the relation with the millers, processors, or with the government, as well as the private sector. Also contribute the dialogues with the different stakeholders, like we've decided here to invite and have with us different international organizations working on this agenda. And in addition to that, for specifically client support, client level support, we'll be looking customizing for each client some marketing, labeling, and packaging related aspects, which might be some news for the clients, because if they never worked on it, it's not mandatory regulated. It's for sure they don't have the knowledge on that. So working with it, also different authorities, we will also support on that direction. And lastly, so the important part is supporting implementing processors to collect the data, analyze, and understand and have the commercialization of their fortified foods. As I mentioned, in addition to the directly client level work, the project will also look to the knowledge management, share the sector and capacity building by hosting different type of events, forums, webinars, as well as some looking and also developing different thought leadership materials, including the training materials, as well as our experience in developing markets. Lead us to speak that there is always important to build capacity in the countries, not only with the private sector and processes manufacturers or millers, but also through the consulting businesses. Because like organization like IFC could not stay like long, or could the projects normally, which we are starting, we are closing in 3 or 4 years, but then we think that in the countries, there should stay the, let's say, knowledgeable expertise or experts who will then continue to support private sector or public sector. That's why we realize this training the trainer type of work with the also private consulting firms or consulting businesses, as well as support to the governmental regulators to understand, or inspectors to understand the best practices or inspection like methodologies, specifically on fortification, might be important. So in this, we will for sure partnering with our bank colleagues, World Bank colleagues, other organizations who are already doing that type of activity activities and work. I also want to mention, but won't stop really on this slide, because I know that you, after the lunch, will have the presentation from my colleague with the senior industry specialist for fortification, Tiago. He will be talking specifically on best practice on fortification and milling assessment, to provide you showcase for the rice fortification specifically. The importance, what we've decided to mention, that is to explain how we could be also working with the clients. But let me not stop on this one and move to another, and also present you some of the different events what IFC hosted under the food safety and food loss prevention platform. So we, as IFC, are one of the organizers of the International Food Safety Forums. And on our last two food safety forums, we always have this session specifically related to nutrition and fortification. Having this like big audience in different countries, and as you see this events, which is on the right side, or whatever side, left side of my left side and your right side of this slide, it's in different countries. We're trying to promote the best practices on food safety, on like loss reductions or fortification nutritions worldwide. So using this audience, we started already 2.5 years ago to promote fortification agenda worldwide. So as well as you see some of the thought leadership materials, what we are developing and putting our website, that's for sure is free from download and usage. And we will be happy to see that like already this audience sitting here are like trying to download and use the materials. So we will be developing even more for the future, specifically for fortification and nutrition. And for sure with the material development, we are involving our colleagues, different organizations helping us. So with this, let me stop here. As I mentioned, we've just like 1 month ago started this new project, and we for sure will have more to talk on our next forums, which we will host hopefully somewhere in this in Asia or Africa in the soonest future. Let me stop here. Thank you very much. And it's a pleasure having you all here on our forum.